a quiet update about what's occurring in my life and where I'm at. This is suitable to be listened to as you go to sleep. In this audio recording, I'll be talking about my life and what projects I have on the boil. And it's a general quiet chat. But it's not a meditation. If you're looking for a meditation, then perhaps you could try one of my other audios. If you're going to stay and listen to this audio, thank you. I have a cup of tea in my hand, so excuse me if I make noise as I'm drinking, but there is nothing more comforting for me than a chat or a reflective moment while sipping tea. I suggest you find a comfortable position and I'll start my chat. And of course, I'll start with the words, as I do, sit down or lie down comfortably and we will begin. Except I'm going to begin to have a chat rather than a meditate. I wanted to take this time just to let you know what's happening in my life and what my plans are. I'm just going to put the tea down. There may be outside noises as well because the children are still doing their homework. Thank you so much for listening to my meditations. Thank you so much for listening to my audios and my audio visuals. I am deeply grateful. Not only do I love doing what I'm doing, but now what I love doing so much helps to support my family, and there's very few greater experiences than the experience of creating something that can help support a family. I never thought when I started YouTube that I would get to this point where it is more than just a late night hobby. Saying that, I have neglected somewhat YouTube in the last few months. Out of respect for my family, I won't give you the whole story because my family is very private. I'll share pieces of story. As many of you know, my father has a degenerative terminal neurological condition. And in September of last year, he started to have seizures, long seizures which were damaging. and seizures which advanced his condition. At that time, I was living over an hour away from where my parents are located. I was living where I was living because I married in that area, and with time the marriage ended, and due to circumstances I could not afford to move back to my family and to my friends and to the location in which I felt truly comfortable. So I really tried to find happiness in the location in which I was. There were lots of strengths. There was lots of good things about the location. It was close to the beach. It was close to holiday destinations, a number of beaches and beautiful scenic areas. But for me, it wasn't home. I worked very hard to make it home, but it wasn't. And I've actually stopped recently saying my age. I'll have to dissect that. I haven't quite dissected it yet, but I have stopped saying what my age is. But it's not a young age. And it's funny, we kind of think, I don't know about you, but I kind of think that I need to tick achievements according to an age. I kind of feel like I need to tick boxes such as brought up children well, bought house, have a quality relationship. I can't tick those boxes. I think the children are doing really well. I don't have a relationship, and I don't own a house, and I'm not young. I felt and still feel like these ticks are important. I would love to have a quality relationship, and I really would like to buy a house. But as hard as I've tried at this stage, these ticks have not occurred. And what's really important is that I find a way to be happy anyway. Coming back to the story, in September, Dad became much sicker, and I was travelling up to see him maybe once or twice a week with some gaps. There are always gaps when you have children. Children just throw spanners in the works, left, right and centre, as lovely as they are. So I was travelling up to Melbourne, and the trip is hard, as in peak traffic makes that hour. When I was travelling in, it was 90 minutes, and when I travelled back home, it was no less than 2 hours. And during this time, so Dad had the seizure, and went to hospital, and I worked out with the nurses that I would come in every day and look after Dad because he was high needs. So I came in every day and, oh, gee whiz, it was really, really tough. It was the type of activity that as I was doing it, as I was coming in each day, I felt like I could only look towards the end of that day because every day was so hard and so tiring and so emotionally challenging that I could only look at my life day to day rather than make any practical plans. And then one night, late at night, let's say 10 o'clock at night, the charge nurse or the head nurse of the ward rang me and said that I needed to come in because Dad couldn't sleep. So I drove in and I was much too tired to drive in. I felt too tired to drive in. I drove in and when I was in there, the nurses got to know me, so they made me a cup of coffee. And I comforted Dad and then I sat in a chair. And I remember the moment sitting in the chair with my beautiful cup of coffee. It was a special moment because I grew close to the nurses and my respect for nurses just went through the roof. So there was the positive moment, the memory of the coffee and the lovely nurse, but there was also an awareness that this was not tenable. It wasn't possible for me to continue driving, and Dad needed the care. And there were some other issues at that time. So I chose to move all of us to Melbourne so I could look after Dad. And in the time I was travelling too, my boys, when they're left alone, if they're on PlayStation, they're relatively safe. If I take PlayStation away, they tend to fight physically with each other. And we've had, you're not going to believe this, we've had 5 broken windows, not all at once, but one at a time when they've had arguments. And we had a broken window when I was travelling. And I found not being with the children in the hour and a half in the morning. And the 2 hours in the afternoon meant that the children were alone for a period after school. And that wasn't working out. And I was also getting older and I wanted to be with my mum and dad. Moving back to Melbourne, lots of people say to me, oh, I'd love to live in Australia. Melbourne is incredibly expensive. Your average house, your average small house in Melbourne is about $2 million. That's your average house. You could get maybe a 1-bedroom apartment for $450,000 to $500,000. So it's not a cheap place to live. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip. Because of the powerful microphones I use, everything I do from sipping a cup of tea to scratching my head, you can hear it really clearly. So I knew that moving back to Melbourne would be tough, and I have done it. So now I care for Dad 4 days a week, and I've moved all the children's schools. And it's been an enormous feat. Enormous. And there's been so many hiccups and challenges and things not going to plan. But in saying that, we're here now. And my happiness has just gone through the roof. I'm so much happier. I've studied so much about happiness, particularly when my marriage ended, and I wanted to be able to say that we can totally create our own happiness. That's what I wanted to say, that it's all within. Now, I still say that. I still say that happiness comes from within. But the environment which we are in, perhaps the location, the people around us, can make it so much easier for us to feel happiness within. When I say that, I think about people in Syria or other war-torn areas. And happiness really does need a bit of a springboard. Happiness requires quality people around you. Happiness requires a roof over your head. Happiness requires food in your belly. Happiness requires a level of safety, security around you for you to feel optimum levels of happiness. So it's important to remember that although we create our own happiness, in Western society we're incredibly lucky. Incredibly lucky. And it's worth spending a moment or two or three thinking about those people or communities that do not have a roof over their heads. Do not have clothing or food. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. So yes, we can do so much to affect our levels of happiness, but at the end of the day, we have certain needs. You've probably heard of the triangle. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he talks about needing a roof over our heads and talks about needing food. And what we absolutely need is the base to our happiness. So where I used to live, it was a lovely place. I had several beautiful friends, but somehow it just didn't resonate with me for a number of reasons. And I pined, that's a good word, pined for what I perceived as my home. Around Kew in Melbourne, and now I'm back. And now I have to find a way to afford to stay here, which will be my next challenge. But I'm trying to sit in the aura, bath in the glow of being here now before I start to feel too concerned about how I'll stay here. Now, I haven't been on YouTube as much as I would like to because I have been involved in looking after Dad, and there's a lot to organise because he needs 24/7 care. And it's been involving emotionally. It emotionally affects me, and there's a lot to plan. But he's happy. He's happy because he's at home. He's happy because he can see his garden. He's happy because he's with my mum and they love each other. He's happy because he loves to eat sushi, so he eats a lot of sushi. And it's a very precious memory and very precious present for me to be able to care for him. I'm getting to the point where I feel settled enough that I can throw myself back into YouTube with a clearer focus and create content. Can you hear that? My daughter is up to use the bathroom. I'm getting to the point that I want to create more systematically on YouTube again, that where I'm settled in this new place. So I moved in at the end of December, the beginning of January, and I now feel more settled. There's several things that I'm doing that you may be interested in. I have a mailing list. And if you go on that mailing list, you receive free quality downloads and you get to make requests of me. So that list is in the description. So feel free, and I'll stick it at the end of this audio as well. So feel free to sign up and then you'll get free downloads and make requests. I want to design regular programs through free audio downloads. I thought I would create a program on how to sleep, a program on how to reduce anxiety, and other similar programs. That's the plan at the moment. So let me know what your interests are there. I know that recently some of you have been talking about the fact that there are ads on my videos. I don't put ads in the middle of the videos, so it's not me doing it, and I can't stop it. So feel free to, I sell my audios for $1.99 on Sellfy, SELLFI, care of my name. Or if you are not financially able to purchase at $1.99, email me at laurenostrowskifenton@gmail.com and I'll send you an audio. There's a lot of traffic at the moment, so excuse the vibrations and the sounds. I've been thinking a lot about what happiness is recently, because I've been watching my father, and my father's had a fairly happy life. He's had a lot of love. I've been watching Dad and wondering about his level of happiness. He's in a lot of pain. A lot of pain. And I ask him, "Are you happy?" And he says, "Oh my God, I'm happy. I've had 80 years of happiness," is one comment. Another time he said, "Yes, I'm happy because I have sushi." "Yes, I'm happy because I have your mum." Now, he's in so much pain that I can't imagine how I would feel with that much pain. But the people who love him and are around him, the roof over his head, the people he engages with, are enough to give somebody in so much pain happiness. I think that happiness is quite complex because, yes, the spiritualists tell us, research tells us that happiness comes from within. But my goodness me, I can tell you, if my children are not happy, I am not happy. And as much as I meditate, as much as I inner reflect, as much as I sit in the stillness, my happiness is controlled by how much my children are happy. And the professional answer I'll give you there is that we need to work towards detachment. We need to work towards managing how connected we are to people around us so that we walk the fine line where their happiness is important to us, but we still maintain a sense of self. So one of my learnings as a human being is to not depend upon my children's happiness as much, because ultimately it reduces my ability to parent or to mother. Because their happiness becomes too important and my self-welfare is compromised. I say to my children all the time, look at the greys. Look at the greys in life. So when we describe a character or we describe a situation, always have the ability to talk about the entire story. Not one element. So rather than saying, Mark is a fantastic, awesome person, see Mark in all Mark's colours. Positive and not so positive, in order to truly love Mark. See a situation in all its colours, in its complete story. Its complete situation, all the greys, in order to sit within reality in the present. What do I mean by that? Often we go through stages in life. I can hear my boys speaking in the background. They're naughty boys, they should be asleep. But this microphone's going to pick up their speaking, so I'm not going to get up and tell them off. I'm going to just allow that, so you'll hear them mumbling in the background. What was I saying? I've I've lost my train of thought now. That in order to be truly happy, it's important to see reality rather than seek out simplicity. It's great to say, I'm wildly in love, I have the best, most fantastic relationship. But that's not true. Every relationship has its strengths and its weaknesses. And we need to love it anyway. A relationship is not going to last if we expect or desire perfection. And likewise, if you don't have a relationship, if you are, I use quoting fingers here, alone. So we're never really alone, or we're always alone. We're never really alone because we live in a sea of souls. We're always alone because ultimately we die, we leave this mortal experience alone. I've lost my train of thought now. I'm thinking about my dad again. It's important to work towards a level of detachment by seeing life in all its colors. If you want to truly love another person, love every part of them, rather than expect perfection. Alternatively, there will be times in life where you are quite alone and feel alone, and somehow that has to be okay, because moments of your life are passing and need to be experienced in the most wonderful way possible. And there are always wonderful ways to experience life, if but for a warm shower or a nice cup of coffee or tea, a woolly jumper, your favorite dressing gown and slippers, new fresh sheets, a hug from a friend. There are always ways to experience happiness, providing the essentials of food, water, and a roof over your head are met. And it's always important that we think about those that do not have that. How are you? How are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you doing okay? I know it's tough sometimes. And I know that this merry-go-round of life just doesn't seem to stop or even slow down, and somehow, philosophers tell us to be in the moment and relax. And there's so many times I think, are you ridiculous? You want me to be in the moment and relax when I'm supporting 4 children by myself, answering all their needs from basketball to schooling to study to health? Be serious? I'm to relax? Somehow we need to find happiness and relaxation in the mayhem as it is. Somehow we need to find contentment when life is rushing past and we do not have complete control. there are areas where we have no control. And somehow we just need to be okay anyway. I can hear in the background my boys talking ongoing, so you may hear that as well. I'm going to finish up in a minute. I just wanted to share with you where I'm at and what I'm doing. A lot of you write me letters. Some of you send me messages on Facebook and emails. It is completely impossible for me to reply to them all. Just not possible because there are too many. I would love to reply to them all. It's impossible. I prioritize the letters sent through my mailing list because those people have made the effort to sign up. So feel free to do so. I do endeavour to reply to all letters. It's just physically more than impossible. So please forgive me and thank you so much for walking alongside me in this incredible journey. Let me know what requests you have. You know that I'm doing no videos of myself speaking at the moment. And the reason for that is I'm settling in. I don't have my cameras set up. It takes me much longer to record a video with my face in it because I have to re-record and re-record and re-record. When I do audio late at night, like now, during this audio, I stopped it twice to tell children to be quiet and go to bed. I can't do that with a visual. So please forgive me. It's not that people have said things like, when's the old Lauren coming back? Well, the old Lauren is here. She's just pretty tired and trying to do her best with what she has. So I will do those videos again. They do take a good day to do one, whereas when I'm doing this now, I can do this in 45 minutes with a cup of tea. Where's my tea? At the end of the day, so this is much easier, but I'll be doing the others as well. My two sons have started their YouTube channels, so please look in the description for their links because they'd be so excited if you subbed their channel. They keep asking me to say, can you give us a shout out? I'm going to finish up now and go to sleep because it's about 11:30 at night. Wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, I hope you're okay. I know some of you are not okay. I know some of you are in pain, experiencing loss, can't sleep, or have an issue that you don't know how to resolve. I'm so sorry. I wish you strength. I wish you resilience. I wish you peace in the mayhem. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for breathing alongside me. Thank you so much for listening to my meditations. It means the world to me. I'm grateful. Sending you love. Sending you sleep. Sending you waves of relaxation. Wishing you well. Wishing you well. Wishing you well. Good night. Good night, my friend. Good night. Take care. Breathe and be in each breath. As the breath inhales and the breath exhales, be with that journey and you'll be okay.